Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Congressman Stefanic, I just want to congratulate you for being here. I'm very pleased to see your nomination to be the next ambassador, the next United States ambassador to the United Nations, and I look forward to working with you very closely. Before I get into specific questions, I'd like to just ask you a very broad one in terms of what your vision is for the U.S. mission to the United Nations, and in terms of our posture at the outset going in, and then where you'd like to see it 4 years later.
Thank you so much, Senator Hagerty. It is great to have worked with you over the past few years and your expertise, both having served as an ambassador in the first Trump administration and your incredible work in the U.S. Senate on this committee. My vision is making sure that we're supporting President Trump's America First, Peace Through Strength agenda, that we are good stewards of U.S. taxpayer dollars, and that we return to the founding mission of the United Nations, which is international peace and security, very much aligned with President Trump's commitment to peace and no new wars. I think there are reform opportunities that we need to work with. This committee, hearing after hearing with various ambassadors, have talked about reforms. I want to roll up our sleeves and get it done, demanding transparency and accountability, actually having the answers of where each taxpayer dollar goes within the UN, which, as Chairman Risch has referenced in previous hearings, we haven't not gotten the answer to because there's not that amount of transparency. Standing with Israel is critically important, particularly as there are hostages still being kept today by Hamas, pushing back on the CCP, and then strengthening our partnerships and allies, working with Secretary Rubio to make sure that his reform vision for the State Department, that, as he said in his hearing, this is not about reforming, it is about improving over the long term. We want to improve to deliver results.
Well, I appreciate that very much and look forward to working with you in multiple respects to make that happen. One of those areas will be through our commission to modernize and reform the State Department, that I look forward to working with Senator Coons as we co-chair that effort. Let's get to a couple of specifics. Senator McCormick touched on this. I'd like to drill a little bit deeper into UNRWA. This is a particularly problematic organization, in my view, long before the October 7th Hamas massacre that took place. I've been calling for the United States to cease funding UNRWA to send a very strong message. It's been well documented that UNRWA's textbooks teach children to glorify the murder of Jews. Hamas employs UNRWA facilities. They build their own tunnels and facilities underneath them. UNRWA employees even actively participated in the massacre on October the 7th of 2023. In January 2021, the Trump administration announced that less than 5% of people registered as refugees with UNRWA actually met the internationally recognized criteria for refugee status that demonstrates that UNRWA is a fundamental mechanism through which this Israeli-Palestinian conflict is perpetuated. President Trump rightfully stopped sending U.S. taxpayer funds to UNRWA. President Biden decided to reinstate funding without insisting on significant reform, and I was quite disappointed by that. Congress was correct, I believe, in defunding UNRWA last year. I believe the prohibition should be permanent. My question for you is, how do you think you should deal with UNRWA? How do you think we should address U.S. taxpayer funds having gone to an organization like that that has been directly complicit in terrorism in the October 7th, 2023 attack?
We should never tolerate any U.S. taxpayer funds going towards terrorism. As in my question with the ranking member, Shaheen, I was one of the members that voted to defund UNRWA. I was one of the leaders in standing for that important appropriations vote, which there is a bipartisan consensus on, with significant members, Republicans, as well as some Democrats who voted to defund it. I think we can look to organizations within the UN system, such as UNHCR, such as the World Food Program, working with USAID, which are proven organizations. They still need, reform efforts and modernization, but don't have the terrorist ties that UNRWA had, particularly that were exposed during the October 7th Hamas attack against Israel. Whether it was Hamas's leader Sinwar carrying an UNRWA teacher's passport, or whether it was the UNRWA office above a Hamas data center, or individuals within UNRWA who participated in the terrorist attack against Israel on October 7th. So that I fully support the President's commitment to defunding, and I'm proud to have voted for that in the Congress.
Great. Well, I have several more questions, but I just want to touch on one last one very quickly, and that has to do with accountability at the World Health Organization. You take into consideration the concerns around the COVID pandemic, what happened there, the WHO role there. President Trump, I believe, rightly withdrew us from supporting and funding WHO. President Biden put us back into that, into being a funder. In fact, the largest funder, $1.3 billion so far to that organization from United States taxpayers. What are your thoughts on the accountability that we've received so far, and where would you like to take that? Thanks.
I support President Trump's decision to walk away from WHO. WHO failed on a global stage in the COVID pandemic for all the world to see, and instead spewed CCP talking points that I believe led to not only false information, but dangerous and deadly information across the globe. We cannot tolerate entities that are taken over by CCP propaganda. So I strongly support President Trump knows when to engage and knows when to walk away. He was right in his decision to walk away from WHO, and I support that.
I was pleased to see that action yesterday as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.